Today's video, we're gonna go over what I liked and did not like from the Gen 3 Raptor reveal a couple weeks ago. So if you guys are new to the channel, hey guys, my name is Helio with Keep It Dirty Off-Road. And this channel is all about us off-roading our Raptors and bringing you guys along for the adventure, whether it's upgrading it, working on it, dealing with breakdowns, or going on adventures. We document it all on this channel, so please consider subscribing. All right guys, so a couple weeks ago, we had access to the Gen 3 Raptor thanks to the Raptor Junkies at the Silver Lake Shakedown event. It was a really fun event, but we were really there to take a look at the Raptor. And as we finally got a chance to really take a look at it, there's a couple things we did like and a couple things we didn't like. So in this video, we're gonna cover them all. And I think some of the things I'm gonna say are gonna surprise a couple of you because I'm known as the Raptor guy. I'm a big Raptor fan. I think it's still one of the best trucks on the market, but there's a couple things in the Gen 3 that I did not like. But first, let's start off with the stuff I did like. All right, one of the first things that I liked that stood out to me the most was that power liftgate. I know a lot of you guys are gonna give me shit for this, but I really like the way that liftgate comes down and comes back up. I think it's a great little feature. It's a convenience feature, I know, but it's great. I love it. Another great option, and it goes with the tailgate, is the Pro Power on board. You know, it gives you a 2 kilowatt battery. It's going to be great for camping or even just trail fixes. You're going to be able to carry corded tools, which are much lighter and much stronger in the truck. So if something happens, you have power on board to help you fix it. Next, obviously, is the new link rear end. It's a huge improvement over the leaf sprung back end. Love some of the strategies they did there where they kind of stagger the arms to give it more up travel. When we looked at the TRX didn't have as much up travel as what the Raptor looks like, and I think that's where the Raptor's getting its extra suspension travel, which was really cool to see on the Raptor. It's a completely different approach. Another thing I like too is the color. I love that code orange color. I think it's really cool. Yes, it mostly looks red, but in the right circumstances, get that orange tint to it. I really liked it. If I were to order a truck, that's the color we would pick. Another thing we liked was the exhaust. The new exhaust does sound better. Now, unfortunately, I didn't capture any good clips of the exhaust. We were always on the move. It was always hard to have the camera. Like, it's almost like if I had the camera up, he took it slow. As soon as I put the camera down, he stepped on it, and yeah, it sounds much better, guys. It doesn't sound like a V6 anymore. Or actually, I would take that back. I think it embraces the V6 sound rather than trying to sound like a V8, which was a mistake before. All right, so you can't mention the Raptor with the fact that you're going to get 37s, and you're going to get warranty support on those 37s, which is the first of its kind. No other manufacturer has done that yet. And you're getting 37s without the rubbing. Now let's go over some of the things I didn't like, and it's a long list, guys. There's a lot of stuff I didn't like here. While the factory 37s option is probably one of the best features of this truck, it's also the way they did it that has me a little concerned. First things first, they're using the same power. It's the same 450 horsepower. The only thing they did here was update the power band on the transmission. The power comes on sooner, which, you know, we've had similar experiences with that already. The Cobb Tune does something similar to that on our 17 Raptor when we ran it. And yes, it's great off the line. It definitely makes it feel more like it had 35s. But as soon as you get on the top end, the power just drops. Once you get over 75, the power drops. And the fact that they kept the same power, and worst of all, they kept the same gearing. It has 410 gearing. With 37s, 410 gearing is way too sluggish. Though that gearing needs to be upgraded to deal with the 37s. Now, a lot of you guys may think, oh, the 10-speed can compensate for that. Yes, it can, but you lose all that power on the top end, which is not a good thing. I wish Ford would have done a different strategy, because right now the strategy looks a lot like what we've all done in the aftermarket. All they did was do different shocks with spring to get that extra height, and then they limited the up travel in order to fit the 37. We've all been doing that already in the aftermarket. I mean, most of your spring upgrades or the low-cost upgrades, basically that's what they do. They increase the height, but also at the same time, they don't allow the suspension to compress as much, so it takes off 1 or 2 inches of the top end to allow it to work. You can do a similar support for 37s in the aftermarket, probably a little bit less. Now, mind you, the factory option is going to have a better shock. It's going to have better valving. It's a stronger shock, so it is going to ride smoother. But to me, I mean, that the cost of the package, I think, is a little high considering what you're actually getting. You know, it's just different shocks, different springs, and that little notch in the back and a spacer for the spare. And I think they threw in the Recaro seats as a way to justify the extra cost, because the new Recaro seats, that's another drawback. The new Recaro seats are basically the same shape, whether you get the regular seats or the Recaro seats. It looks like it's just the skin, so to me, that's kind of a drawback. And it goes into the styling. I think a lot of people are perplexed by the new styling. You know, I've heard this expression a lot. Once you look at it, it grows on you. I looked at it straight for 2 days, and it did not grow on me. I think styling's a little funky, and I think it's the lights. I think it's the headlights that mainly ruin it. They're a little weird. It's got this weird bug-eyed look to it. And then also the bumper. The bumper looks like a Raptor swap bumper. It doesn't look like a Raptor bumper. It literally looks like the cheap Chinese ones you see a lot of the F-150s with the Dodo grills. That's what the new bumper looks like. I don't like it. I don't think it looks good. Along those same lines with the styling, the fender flares was a very poor choice in my opinion. Now, I understand what they're doing. They have to limit the truck to a certain width because of DOT standards, but that extra lip made it look cheap, right? There's about an extra inch in the front, half-inch in the back. They look like the cheap Bushwhacker fenders, which is, it cheapens the truck a little bit. It cheapens the style of it, so I'm not a fan. Okay, now going to another thing that I don't like, and that's the steering. Back to our conversation with the 37, they kept exactly the same steering, just increase the length of the tie rod ends. That's it, which is a concern because the electronic steering that's in the Raptors right now is a weak point of the truck. Yes, it has less issues than the hydraulic steering in the Gen 1s, but it still has issues. And when it has issues, it's not a cheap replacement. It's a $2,600 replacement. Very expensive. The two major problems that everybody complains about with the stock electronic steering is it's got weak housing, so it cracks, or second, the seals leak. They're very weak, so they leak. And if you don't believe me on all this stuff, check with all the major off-road groups like EXO, Dirt Days. When they do their Baja runs, they all carry an extra steering rack because it's such a common problem. It's such a common area that breaks that they want to be ready. So big disappointment that Ford kept the same steering. We were hoping for a stronger steering rack, stronger everything up front to deal with the 37s. They didn't do it. Another area was all the electronics. I think they added too much electronics on this truck. When we went from a 17 to a 20 Raptor, the main difference between the two trucks was all the extra electronics. And all those extra electronics, I kind of feel that they caused a lot of our death shake. And the new truck has more electronics to the point that the wire harness had to be completely changed out. It's completely different. The IWE now is electronic, which that may be a good thing, but it could be a bad thing because that the speed sensor fails. Now you got the IWE and the speed sensor that are combined together in one module. That could be way more expensive to repair, and that's a common area where every couple of years we all have to replace that if we off-road on the regular. Even the braking system now is completely electronic. It's not the traditional master cylinder that we're all used to. There's two electric motors there on each side, and the ABS system is directly integrated into where the master cylinder used to be. It's a completely different electronic system, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works out and how that works when you lose power or something like that. But that's definitely a drawback. Too much electronics is a bad thing, guys. Another area was the linked arm. You guys saw me talk about this when we looked at the TRX. TRX arms had that funky bend, and they were hydroformed. They didn't look that strong, and for us that seriously off-road, it's a weak point for us. We know we're going to damage those, mainly because those get trailed on. They're going to hit rocks all the time. They're going to take some damage, and we want something beefier. And you know, when we first looked at the shots of the Raptor, the new tailoring arms look stronger, but when we got a closer look at them, the metal looks very thin. Now, they are stronger than the TRX arms. They have that little V pattern. It's a little bit straighter. There's no bend in it, so it will be stronger than the TRX arm, but I just wish that metal was a little bit thicker, or that there was some kind of internal reinforcement, which it doesn't look like there is. Now, that's something that the aftermarket will resolve, though, I'm sure. Next was the bump out for the 37s. That bump out for the 37s causes two problems. One, the truck's already too long. It doesn't fit in most garages. Now, if you get the 37-inch version, it's guaranteed not to fit in a garage, which is a bad thing. Second, it also sandwiched, pancaked the pan arm, which in my mind, it looks like it weakened the pan arm. It makes the pan arm look like it's gonna bend really easy. So that's another concern. I wish Ford would have gotten a little bit more creative with that. Or maybe just the 37 version should have just came with the rack in the bed, some kind of vertical rack or something. I think that would have been better than trying to hide it in the back. And I get it why they did it in the back. They want this truck to be more livable. They want it to be more of a truck because 99% of the drivers, that's what they use it for. But to me, it was a drawback. Okay, and then lastly, I personally think the interior was kind of a drawback. There's a lot of cheapness in the new interior. To me, it looks more like a work truck. The Gen 2 had some upscaler materials, but for the most part, you knew you had plastics in there. You knew it. You could tell there were some cheap plastics. In the new truck, there is way more plastic there, and there's a whole lot more silver too. You have this silver thing that wraps around that whole front end, and it looks cheap. To me, I think if you went with like the carbon package, that should all be carbon or something like that. But yeah, it definitely has more of that work truck like feel, and for an $80,000 truck, it really should have a nicer interior. And then obviously the fact that the Recaro seats are only tied to the 37s. I know a lot of people are griping about that. I was a big fan of the Recaro seats in the 20 truck because it was completely different than the stock truck. It actually held you better. You don't slide around as much thanks to the materials, but in the new truck, the shape is identical. Both seats are identical, so that's kind of a problem to me, and I think it just cheapens the Recaro seat option because it's not really an upgrade, it's just a skin. So I know you guys are wondering if we're going to be getting one. The Gen 3 Raptor, when it comes out, will still be the king of off-road. It has the most suspension travel, it has the best balance, it has all the stuff that you need in order to off-road that thing on the regular. But in my mind, they also added quite a bit of electronics and all those electronics are going to cause issues, and it's going to make it difficult to do upgrades down the road, and we're big on upgrades, and it could potentially impact the reliability. So I'm a little concerned about its reliability going forward with all the extra electronics. You know, electronics is what caused most of our issues on the last truck, and Ford could not fix it. The dealer network wasn't really ready to troubleshoot electronic problems and troubleshoot software problems. And then finally, you know, we're very public with the use of our truck. We don't hide anything. We don't delete videos. We're very honest about how we use it, how we mod it, how we run it. You know, you guys see it. This channel is all about showing you guys what that truck is capable of, and we've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now, right? And hopefully this channel gets you guys to do it more often. Problem with that though is now we're known as the Raptor people. Ford has an eye on this channel, so we're a little worried about what kind of warranty support we'll get going forward because of how public we are with the truck. Yeah, something to think about. All right guys, did you guys agree with our likes and dislikes? Was there something we missed? Put it in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. Thanks for watching.